Hey bag ladies and bag dudes, today I'm going to be talking about the Bone Ash ironing mat, a Paladin pouch that I made this past week, Barry J. Bloomsbury fabrics. The book review will be for Gertie Sew's Jiffy Dresses. I'll be demonstrating how to add purse tabs to a bag, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me for Social Sunday. I saw everyone chatting on Facebook and YouTube before the show, and it's funny, I was just thinking right now before we got started, I can see all the comments coming through on Danny's screen. He's just to my left, and I'm still amazed. We've been doing the live shows for a little over 2 years now, and I'm still amazed that people are tuning in to watch us live or watching the recordings later on in the week. So I appreciate you so much. I see Montana Wendy's watching, Jean from Northern Virginia, so welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining me. So I wanted to send out a little shout out to Melissa and Renee. They are a husband and wife duo, and they were at a GeekyCon, which is kind of like a version of Comic-Con, and they sold a lot of Sew Sweetness bags, so congratulations to them. If you're not familiar with Comic-Con, what Comic-Con is, it's kind of like a pop culture TV show, movie, comic book type event, and I've yet to attend one. I know there's some coming through in the Chicago area. I always thought it would be really fun. I see people, we live not far from the convention center in this area, and I always see people when it's time for Comic-Con walking down the street dressed up as mostly comic book characters, so I've always wanted to go, and it seems like a lot of fun. A friendly reminder before I get started, just about everything that I talk about during Social Sunday are things that I've purchased myself, so these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And also as a reminder, everything that I'm scheduled to talk about I link to in the description, so if you're interested in finding out more about any of the notions, fabrics, projects, or books that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So before we get over to the notion of the week, the Minikins challenge for the month of July is the Bodega grocery bag and produce bag. Danny's going to put a photo up on the screen right now of what this project looks like. This is from Minikins Season 2, and my apologies for getting the challenge up late. Obviously it's creeping toward the midpoint in July. The link up tool that I normally use was having some technical issues earlier this month. Not taking photos, not posting the photos that had already been posted by the members, and so it took maybe about a week for it to come back online, and then I wanted to give it a few extra days just to verify it was indeed working. But that Minikins challenge is live now, and I'll be posting the one for August nearly at the end of next week, so coming up really soon. All right, so this week's notion of the week is called the Bone Ash ironing mat. This is what the packaging, at least the front of the packaging, looks like. It's kind of like a no-stick ironing mat, which is of course helpful for ironing fabric to interfacing. If you often work on applique, use delicate fabrics, protects screen printing. So I'm going to jump over to the side camera and show you what the mat looks like and give you a little demonstration. Okay, so let me get my iron fired up. So the most important aspect of this item, which you can see right here, is that you use your iron with steam. So it really does need to have steam in order to work correctly. It kind of reminds me almost like cross-stitch canvas. It's a little bit stiffer. As you can see, it's got the binding around the outside edge, and it basically protects your iron from, or protects your fabric, depending on how you want to look at it, from the heat of your iron, if you're protecting the fabric, or if you're trying to protect your iron, it protects from getting adhesive from your interfacings accidentally on the iron. So I cut out a little piece of fabric, and this is Paladin Shape Flux interfacing. So I'm just going to orient the adhesive side of the interfacing against the wrong side of my fabric and place it underneath the mat. And again, super important to use steam to adhere this. Okay, so I gave it a few passes. As you could see, it's pretty well adhered. I was really curious how this could protect the iron in case of an accident regarding the interfacing. So I'm actually going to lay this little scrap of interfacing with the adhesive side on the mat. So normally it would be oriented toward the iron, and I just wanted to see what the mat would actually do with the with the adhesive side of the interfacing against the mat. So basically I fused it to my mat, and it just peels really easily off. There's no adhesive on the mat at all, and I can see definitely, like I mentioned, super helpful especially if you're working on applique or other projects where you might get accidentally the adhesive on your iron. Okay, so again, that was the Bone Ash ironing mat, and I've linked to that in the description in case you're interested in finding out more. I don't think I mentioned when I was doing the demonstration, but it's slightly larger than a piece of paper, so not too huge, and certainly will fit on the width of your ironing mat. So I have a question for you. Let me know, do you normally use a pressing cloth for when you're attaching your fabric to your interfacing? I admit for years, when I first started sewing, I did use a pressing cloth every single time. The pressing cloth got quite dirty, which is how I knew that it was doing its job and working and keeping my iron free of the adhesive. I don't know if it's because I'm getting a little bit extra confident in my ironing skills, but these days I don't use a pressing cloth, especially when we're filming a video, just because it's hard to see what exactly I'm doing if that pressing cloth is covering my fabric or the other little bits of things that I'm working on. But certainly it can't hurt, and you don't necessarily need to buy a legitimate pressing cloth from the store. It can be a scrap of, I usually recommend white fabric, just so you can kind of see a little better the items that are underneath. But I've used muslin before, I've used a scrap of white quilting cotton, so other items can certainly be used for pressing cloths as well. So the fabric that I've added to my stash recently, I actually showed you some projects on last Social Sunday of things that I made with this fabric, but I did want to mention the fabrics again because they're really beautiful, and Barry J, who's the fabric designer for this fabric line, it's called Bloomsbury, definitely look her up on Instagram, Barry J. She's a true artist, and she transfers her art onto fabric, and so getting new fabrics from Barry J is always a pleasure. So I'm just going to pop these little projects out really quick with the fabrics that I'm going to show you. These are Paladin pouches, which are a new pattern that's coming out soon. And as you can see, I think you can probably see in this one, they're very painterly, lots of florals, and I really appreciate the artwork. It's definitely different than other fabrics that I've been seeing out lately. She has her own unique style. So let me jump over to the side camera really quick and show you those fabrics in a little bit more detail. So I'm gonna open this one up right now. So this was the painterly one that I showed you. I really like how the florals kind of twist into each other. It's really unique, and I like it's kind of like a teal and navy background. That's really cool. This was in the large pouch that I showed you. So the design goes from selvage to selvage. I kind of like the pop of the lime green over there. And this one, sorry, I don't have a huge piece to show you because I used most of it, but it's actually a border print. So border print means usually the design goes across the selvage, which the floral design does go across the selvage right here, as you see right here. And then the rest of the fabric is this beautiful teal color, so great for clothing or skirts where you want just the design, say on the skirt on the bottom of it. But all three of these fabrics are all from Barry J's Bloomsbury fabric line, and if you want to see the rest of the fabric prints from the line, just click my link in the description and you can see pictures of the rest of the prints from that line. So this past week we filmed the video for the Paladin pouch, which I was really excited about making it again. They're kind of like candy. You can't just make one, you have to make a lot. They're really quick to come together. Here's the one that I made for the video, and I used fabric designed by Melody Miller. This particular fabric is called Hanky. So it was a panel print with different, as you can see, different large scale portions to the fabric. I think, let me see if I can grab, yeah. Here's some of my unused portions, just so you can get an idea of what the rest of the panels look like, just because you can only see the two that I used in the front and the back of the pouch. So this is another of my favorites. This one says measure twice, cut once, which we all know is good advice. Let me show you a few of the other prints in the panel because they're really cute. And there's 2 different colorways, if I recall correctly. I used some of these other prints in my pouch, but you can't see them because they're on the inside. I really like this nail polish print right here. That one's really cute too, and there's a price sticker on there. Let me pull that off. So as you can see, this panel would be great for pouches because there's very unique designs in them. They're good size, so it could be also for the front of a bag. And again, the designer of that panel is Melody Miller, and I've linked to that in the description. The particular fabric is called Hanky. All right, so a few reminders. Our book club discussion for book number 5 is this Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time on Facebook and YouTube. My friend Tamara will be joining me to discuss book number 5, which is called The Hidden Thread by Liz Traynell. And I'll also be debuting a brand new free project and free video, and I'm going to give you like a tiny little sneak peek. So hopefully that's enough of a sneak peek to give you. That's the project for this Tuesday for book club. So I'm really excited about this discussion. I always have a great time discussing the books, and as this is a 6-month book club, we only have one more book remaining, which we'll be discussing in August, and again, a 6th and final free project and video for book club. So again, book number 5, that's this Tuesday, July 23rd, 7 p.m. Central Time. No Social Sunday show in our next time slot, which we're now doing Social Sunday the 1st and 3rd Sunday of every month, but no Social Sunday show on August 4th. We do have a shipping break coming up. We're going on vacation, so skipping the August 4th show is kind of part of that break. So Danny put this graphic up on the screen for us. The shipping break will be from July 31st through August 11th. Any physical orders placed during that time, so orders for fabric, cork, notions, those will be shipped out when we return the week of August 12th. If you order any PDF patterns and videos, you'll still get those automatically, so no worries about that. So if you need anything from our website before the shipping break, you still have a little bit of time to get an order in. Otherwise, of course, we'll be shipping again when we return. All right, Danny's favorite part of the Sunday show. Let me hear it from all the bag ladies and bag dudes. So I love seeing the stream of the bag lady and bag dude mentions come through, and I really love the supportive bag making community. Some meetups going on this summer in your local state and country groups. I sent out a newsletter earlier this morning if you're on our newsletter list, and I always list the meetups at the bottom of the newsletter email. So there's some going on, I think 2 in California, 1 coming up in Denmark. Other states are represented as well. And our local groups can be found over on Facebook, and there's a link in the description if you would like to join your local state or country group. All right, the book review for this week is called Gertie Sews Jiffy Dresses. I have all of Gertie's dressmaking books. They're beautifully presented, and I'm going to jump over and show you her latest over on the side camera. Okay, so this is what the book looks like. It's a spiral bound book, and I've actually put some bookmarks in all the pages that I wanted to show you, pages where some of the projects are and just some things of interest. All of the pattern pieces are in a big folder at the back of the book. And the thing I love about Gertie's books are they're always beautifully illustrated. So besides the chapters, I also wanted to show you some of the illustrations. So the first chapter is Supplies and Tools, which is basically stuff you probably already know, sewing machine, types of thread, that kind of thing. Types of fabrics that are recommended for the project. So Gertie goes into detail about what types of things you're looking for, what's the difference between a woven and a knit. So nothing is assumed, which I like. And this is a really large book, so lots of room to go into detail. And here's Gertie wearing one of her dresses. So she's adorable. She was designing patterns for Butterick, and I've made a few of them. They're really well written and just really unique designs. These are all based off of vintage Jiffy dresses. what to do as far as cutting your pattern pieces out, tracing your patterns, laying them out on fabric. That's enclosed in the next chapter, as well as dress construction basics. So photographs are represented for things like sewing darts, pressing. Here's, as you can see here, some of the photographs, just in case you're not familiar with some of these techniques. All right, so let's go over and see some of the projects. I just love looking at these really cute illustrations. Fitting, of course, is super important. Actually, one of my all-time favorite fitting instructions is actually a Craftsy class, which now the company is called Blueprint. But my favorite class is called Adjust the Bust, and I've referenced it so many times because many sewing patterns are not made for, mostly drafted for B-size busts, and which I don't have, and so I usually have to adjust my bust in my garment pattern. And so if you're interested in garment sewing at all, look for that class on Blueprint. It's called Adjust the Bust. So let me show you the projects that are in the book. This one's called the Popover Dress. And this one is the bias cut version with the waistline shirring. So it's the same pattern as the one I just showed you, with a little bit of variation, which I really enjoy different variations on patterns. It just gives you different ideas for some modifications that you can make. So here's another one. Love this, I think it's strawberries and floral print. And here's a picture of the same dress. This is the guts to the dress, the facings and such. Here's another variation, square neckline. This one has a belt, as you can see on the side. It looks like it's secured with buttons. Fringe cocktail dress. This is, I'm not sure if I'd be brave enough to wear this, but it looks awesome. I love the fringes, especially on the belt as well. Looks super cool. Red is a great color for that particular dress. This one's called the swirl dress. This one looks super easy. I might make that one first out of all the projects in the book. This is another variation on that dress, plaid with the double pocket. I love, this is the back of the dress. As you can see, it crosses over. The boat neck dress. I love her photography as well. She always has the greatest pictures and illustrations. This one's in tweed, and I think there's a few more to show you. This one's the party dress with the flocked skirt. Polka dots are my favorite. The patio dress, and then there's one more. This one is the short sleeve day dress. So again, like I mentioned, all the pattern pieces are in the back. There's mostly illustrations for the instructions, and yeah, it's a great book. Not a super duper lot of pattern pieces for each of the projects, and again, this is what the cover looks like. It's called Gertie Sews Jiffy Dresses, and she's got other titles. I think she's got three previous titles that I can recall, and they're all a similar style as far as the spiral bound pattern pieces in the back and all of the illustrations and great photographs. Okay, so my demonstration for tonight is something that I've gotten lots of requests for, different styles of purse tabs. So I've prepared a PDF document with all of the artwork for what you'll need for making purse tabs for different sizes of hardware in both quilting cotton or other substrates like cork, leather, or vinyl. So the link to that PDF document is in the description. I'm going to jump back over to the side camera and show you all the details, the PDF, what the printout looks like, how to assemble everything and attach it to your bag. Okay, so this is the PDF that I've prepared for you. Again, link in the description. It's just one page. You can download it, and it features 4 different styles of purse tabs in 2 different sizes. So I've written a few little notes at the bottom. I'll be discussing it in detail here, but I've just referred to the purse tabs as large and small. So out of the pairs, obviously the bigger one's large and the smaller one's small, and you'll just want to cut those out to the outside of the thick black line. So let me just discuss a little bit about what you'll be doing. Let's talk about using the purse tabs to cut from cork or vinyl, and let me grab this particular style right here just so we can talk about it quickly. Okay, so if you're using cork, leather, or vinyl, you have 2 different options, either large or small. Large will work with 1.5 inch wide hardware, meaning rectangle rings likely, and the small style will work with the 1 inch rings. So you'll be using either of these sizes to cut fabric raw like cork leather or vinyl. And I just prepared a pre-cut piece because I normally like to glue one piece to another just so that I can get more accurate cuttings so that they match, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue my first piece. I like using the Beacon 3-in-1 fabric glue. Beacon Fabric Tech is also great. But I'm just going to go ahead and glue it in place. You want to make sure it has a few minutes to dry before you start handling it. But I'm just going to glue it wrong sides together. There you go. And as you can see, I've got the same cork on the other side. So you have a couple different options as far as preparing this piece. So you can either let it dry and then cut it out directly, or you can let it dry and then take it over to the sewing machine, do a little bit of top stitching, and then cut it out. So it's totally up to you. Either method will work. And as you can see, because you cut that first piece out rather than cutting two pieces and trying to glue them together, it's more easy to get a really great match because you're cutting that second piece out. Okay, so I'm not going to cut the rest of the piece out. I think you get the idea. You can either leave the cork leather or vinyl raw, or you can finish the edges if you'd like with either some fray block, which is clear, or you can use edge coat, which comes in different colors. I've got the black right here, and I have a video on my YouTube channel demonstrating the edge coat if you'd like to see it applied in more detail. But so you have a few options for the cork leather or vinyl. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the quilting cotton. So for the purse tabs, if you're using quilting cotton for your tabs, you'll only be using the large option. Okay, so you'll be sewing, well, first off, you'll need obviously two pieces. You'll need your two pieces cut from fabric and two pieces cut from interfacing. Obviously, you'll want to fuse the interfacing with the adhesive side against the wrong side of your fabric. So you have the two tab pieces. Likely your bag will have 4 completed tabs, so that means you'll need to cut 8 pieces out of fabric and 8 pieces out of interfacing. Once you've got all of your fabrics cut out, you'll be sewing the tab using 1/4 inch seam allowance. So what I recommend for this, of course you can use the guide either on your sewing machine or the edge of your sewing machine foot to get that 1/4 inch. What I did here, however, I used the smaller tab piece, centered it on my cutout wrong side of the fabric. I used the pattern piece to draw the outside of the small tab piece, and I stitched directly on top of it. Having the drawing there was a lot easier because then I could just focus on watching my needle go along the lines that I drew. As you can see the pink, you can probably see that on camera a little bit. It was really helpful. So that's an option for if you're using the quilting cotton. So what I did was I just trimmed a little bit of the fabric back just to reduce the bulk. It's not quite in half. You want to leave yourself a bit of fabric left over, but depending on what style of tab that you chose, you want to clip the corners. So if there's any corners like this, and anytime there's a curved edge, you want to make little notches, so cut little V's. So what that does is reduces the extra fabric so that when you go to press wrong sides together, it looks really nice instead of having some extra bumps there. So as you can see, there's several tab styles. This one, you'll just notch the pointed edges. For this particular tab, you'll cut the V's or notch wherever there's a curve. And then this one's pretty similar to the one that I just showed you right here. Okay, so then you want to turn these right side out, and I'm using my easy point and turner for that. It made it really quick and easy. So I'm going to first insert the end with the it's got a little hole on this side. So I'm going to slide that in between the layers and clamp it down. And I do have a more detailed video on using the easy point and turner because it has a lot of other uses besides just turning fabric right side out. So I'm just holding it in place and pushing it down with my fingers. And then let me pull this out really quick. This edge without the hole, this is kind of more curved, and you can use this to gently poke your corners out. It's really helpful. So as you can see, this is kind of a multi-purpose tool. Okay, so after you've done that, you'll go ahead and take your finished tab over to your ironing board and give it a good press. All right, so I've prepared all of these tab pieces that I made from the quilting cotton just so that you can see what they look like after they're turned right side out. I recommend drawing a line that's 1.5 inches down from the raw edge and top stitching both of the sides up until that line only. You can probably see my stitches on camera. This one I did a little bit differently. I top stitch all the way over to that sort of pointed edge in the corner right there. So the purpose of that top stitching is we'll be folding this edge of the fabric over and top stitching the lower portion to the bag. So you want the upper portion to be top stitched, not only to hold the layers together, but to look nice and have a continuation of the top stitching. So let me show you with my cork piece that I prepared. As you can see, I've got the top stitching on there already. I'm gonna grab my ruler. Where's my ruler? All right, my ruler's off to the side. So I'm gonna grab my ruler and measure 1 inch down from this top edge. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that that's the 1 inch marking. And that's where you're gonna fold it back and place the hardware. So for this example, I've got my 1 inch wide hardware. And you wanna prepare all of your pairs of tabs in the same manner. I'm just gonna go ahead and put a wonder clip to hold it in place. After you've got that prepared, all you need to do is attach it to your fabric. So I've got my fabric. This is going to be the front of the bag. I've already attached the fabric to the interfacing. I'm using By Any Soft and Stable foam interfacing here. And what I did before the show is I stitched my tabs in place. So depending on what bag you're working on, you obviously want both of the tabs to be the same measurement down from the top edge and the same measurement in from the side so that they look even. What I did with this particular tab, because I only top stitched up to here, once I stitched it down to the bag, I top stitched the sides and the bottom, and then I came across right here, and that catches this area over here that I folded back previously. So very simple to add tabs to any bag. You just need some hardware. I highly recommend the rectangles in either 1 inch or 1.5 inch. And I hope you enjoy this demonstration. The PDF is located in the description. You can download that for free and save it and use it for when you're working on your bags if you want to kind of change up your tabs or add tabs to a bag that didn't already have them. So I hope you enjoyed that. I have a question for you regarding hardware, which is kind of what we discussed with that purse tab demonstration. Which piece of hardware do you use the most? So I showed you those metal rectangles in my purse tab demonstration. I feel like those are the ones that I use the most, in addition to perhaps a metal slider. So a metal slider, if you haven't used it before, is basically a rectangle with a bar in the middle, and it's really helpful in making adjustable straps, which are really great for any bag. All right, so I'm going to announce the winner of last show's giveaway. We'll have another giveaway at the end of the show, and I'm also going to answer some questions live. So if you have a question for me, go ahead and type that in the comments right now on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching. It can be a sewing related question, bag making related question, a question about a notion or tool. Go ahead and type that in the comments right now. Danny's going to put some of your questions on the screen in just a minute. The winner of last show's giveaway, though, was Joanne with an E, which I thought that was very clever. Joanne was watching from YouTube, so congratulations to Joanne. Go ahead and just contact me after the show. I left a comment, follow up to your original giveaway comment. I just need your address and then we can send out your prize. All right, so Danny's looking for some questions right now. Yeah, so our shipping break, I know we went there last year, but we're going to Tennessee again this year. We're staying in the mountains. We rented a cabin, and there's just so much to do there, and we wanted to go again. We're going with some friends. The kids are really excited to go. I'm not excited about the drive, but it's doable. For us, it's I think a little bit over a 9-hour drive. I was hoping to break it up by going to Tennessee on the way there. but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Amanda says, now that your dies are retired, Amanda's talking about my Sizzix dies, are you planning to release those patterns as PDFs or SVG files? So possibly. I don't want to give away too much because some of those are projects that I'm working on, but yes, definitely. I'd certainly like to release those projects so anyone can make them in the form of PDFs and videos. So I suppose stay tuned. I have some more things coming the rest of the summer. Joyce says, do you know when the Charm School template will be in stock? We actually have more acrylic templates coming this Wednesday, so as soon as they arrive, which the Charm School will be included in those templates, I'll list those back in stock. I'll grab some water really quick. Elisette said, can you use the fusible ultra firm stabilizer in the Creative Maker case? Yes, you can. So if you're talking about Peltex, Peltex number 71, which is the single-sided fusible, yes, you can use that in the Creative Maker supply case. So I have you use the Peltex near the end of the pattern after you've assembled, I guess, the front and the back sleeve. The Peltex just gives the product some extra stability so that it's nice and stiff as opposed to floppy. So yes, you can for sure use the fusible instead of the sew-in Peltex instead. Joyce says, any idea when the next 4-pack will be available? We've shot 2 of the videos so far. I'm hoping to get, I don't know, I don't want to lock myself in, but I was hoping before vacation we could get the other 2 filmed, and then when we return, the 4-pack. So I would say really strong chance by the end of the summer we'll have that available. Janelle says, have you considered making an iPad case customizable for different iPad sizes? I do have a pattern in Minikin Season 1. It's called the Grab and Go sleeve, and this particular pattern works off of the measurements of your device. So some people have made them for iPads, other tablets, laptops. I've personally made one for a book. Basically, the pattern walks you through, you just need 2 different measurements from your device, the length of the item and the height of the item. And so it makes a customizable case. So again, that's the Grab and Go sleeve in Minikin Season 1. If you're not interested in the Minikins, the Creative Maker supply case would also be a great option for making a holder for your iPad or book reader. I know I made one for Danny for his tablet. My mom made one for her book reader, and so again, that's the Creative Maker, and we do have a video for that one also. Teresa says, I notice you usually start stitching in the middle of a project rather than a corner. Is there a reason for this or just your personal preference? Middle of a project. I'm not sure which instance you meant. If you want to follow up in the comments with what particular, I know if it's a straight, if I'm sewing a zipper, I usually obviously sew from one end to the other. I don't know, I guess my mind's blanking, but feel free to follow up in the comments, and Danny will look for that one. Kim says, will you be making additional acrylic templates? Yes, we're always looking out for more patterns that we can format in acrylic templates because they're super popular. I know a lot of you like using the acrylic templates if you're making the same project over and over, like for craft fairs or gifts. I know the zipper pocket template has been really popular. We're working on one for rivets. What else? Yeah, always. I would always love coming out with new acrylic templates, certainly. Suzanne says, is it possible to add a divider pocket to the Clydebank tote? Yes, you sure can. The Clydebank is, okay, so the Clydebank has the side panels on it. You will likely, I believe I have a free video on the YouTube channel for adding a side panel or a divider to a bag with a side panel. You might consider having the side panels, so cutting them in half and adding a seam allowance just so that you would have a side portion to sew that side panel in. Anyway, check for that video on my YouTube channel, how to add a divider to any bag. Cindy says, do you change needles when you do the tabs? I feel like I should use a sharper needle doing those. You certainly could. I normally change my needle after every bag project just because I feel like that's usually about 6 to 8 hours depending on the project, and I feel like that's 8 hours is a suitable amount of time for the needle to start getting dull. If you feel more comfortable, you certainly could change out the needle before attaching the tabs. However, if you're attaching the tabs like I showed in my demonstration after you've attached the fabric to the interfacing. It should be kind of the start of your project. So if you've started off with a new needle before you started working on that particular project, I think you should be good. Jill says, we just got a new puppy. What bag would work as a dog purse? Congratulations on your new puppy. I'm super jealous. I'm not sure if you mean something to store the plastic bags and treats. I do have a waist bag. It's called the Beatnik waist bag. That might be good for that. It's got a top zipper. You can put the plastic bags and the treats inside that, and it just snaps around your waist. I'm curious what breed of puppy that you got now that I'm thinking about it. Kate says, have you ever had any issues with cam snaps crushing so that they cannot snap together? I don't think, no, I personally have not had any issues with them doing anything odd. The only thing that I can recall, and it wasn't snaps, but it was rivets instead. I had a problem with rivets one time. I had a deadline for a bag, so I was already like running up against the deadline, and I was finishing the bag. I was putting some rivets in the tabs, and the tabs were actually the same type of tabs that I showed you in the demonstration that I was attaching to the bag, and I went to use my tabletop press and install the very last rivet, and it somehow went in sideways and didn't close all the way, and I couldn't get it out. So Danny, I don't know if you remember, I had Danny working with, I think he was working with some pliers trying to get those rivets out. It was kind of crushed and kind of sideways. But I'm sorry that happened to you, but I have not had any of my cam plastic snaps get crushed together. Cindy says, is there a close substitute for by any soft and stable? So there are several different foam interfacings available. Paladin makes one that's called Flex Foam. So theirs is available as a sew-in interfacing, single-sided fusible, and double-sided fusible. They also make a naked foam, which I do not recommend. Naked foam just means there's not a thin layer of fabric on the top and the bottom, which while it is super cheap at the store, it makes it very difficult to get it through your sewing machine because the foam gets caught on the feed dogs without the layers of fabric on top and bottom. Another brand that makes foam interfacing is called Bosal Interform, and again, they have the same three options that Paladin does with the sew-ins and the fusibles. Automotive Headliners also, while it's not a brand name, it is a product, and that's the generic name for it. Automotive Headliner is another option. Maureen says, do you prefer foam stabilizer or Paladin, the firm fusible? I think you might mean Peltex possibly. The fusible does not seem to stick to all the material. Yes, I have found that to be the case for both foam fusible interfacings and the Peltex, the ultra firm interfacings. The way that the adhesive is distributed on the interfacing, especially if you're making a bag and turning it right side out through the opening in the lining, kind of crushing that bag through the lining to get it through and turn it right side out. Certain parts of the fabric come unattached from the fusible interfacing in those two particular cases, and I found that it results in a bag that kind of looks wrinkled or dimply on the right side of the fabric, and oftentimes ironing it after the fact doesn't help. So that's why I like using the sew-in foam interfacing, the by Annie's Soft and Stable. Everyone has their own personal preference, however, so I should state that up front also. But I do like using the sew-ins instead for those two particular types of interfacing. Laura says, on the Epicure pouch, my frame will not stay on. I used E6000 glue and just won't work. Any suggestions, please? I'm not sure. I have used the E6000 before. I currently use the Beacon 3-in-1 glue. A couple suggestions. You want to make sure you have enough glue in the channel of the frame. Not too much glue though, so it doesn't come oozing out. And you want to tuck the fabric all the way up into the channel of the frame. Let me see if I have any purse frames handy. I don't have the Epicure pouch frame handy, but I do have some other purse frames. Let me pull one of these out really quick. Okay, so the purse frame, let me try to hold it so you can see. It has a channel over here. You want to have a thin layer of glue in the entire channel. And when it's time to attach the fabric, you want to tuck it in as far as you can. And if you find it helpful, you may want to use a chopstick or some other blunt object to kind of push the fabric all the way into the channel so that it touches the glue. So I'm not sure what happened in your case. Maybe the fabric didn't get a chance to touch the glue, maybe wasn't pushed up far enough into the channel. For that particular pattern, I did use the foam interfacing in the Shape Flex. if you're not working off a pattern and using purse frames, you just want to make sure that you have enough fabric and interfacing, enough thickness so that it fills the frame so that you're able to push it in and kind of jam it in there almost. Doreen says, would you consider acrylic templates for the tabs? That is a great idea. Let me write that down. Great idea, thank you. I don't think I would have thought of that on my own. All right, Carrie says, Sarah, is it possible to enlarge or reduce the patterns? Yes, you certainly can. If you have a home printer or scanner, and again, the settings will be different depending on what brand and what type of printer you have, you can enlarge, in the settings, you can enlarge the item that you're printing. So for instance, if you wanted it to be larger, you could print at say 120%. If you wanted it to be smaller, possibly 70%. And you could also as well take it to a copy shop like Staples or Office Max, and they can help you do that over there. The only thing is, in my patterns, I don't have pattern pieces for squares or rectangles, so you may potentially want to either draw off those items so that you can enlarge everything at once, or if you just decide to enlarge the pieces that are non-squares or non-rectangles, you'll just need to do a little bit of adjustment as far as say the length of your bottom panel or things like that. So you'll need to adjust the squares or rectangles, either one of those ways. Kim says, for your bags, what zippers do you use and where do you get them? So that's a great question. The two most common zippers that I use for bags are handbag zippers, which generally have a larger pull, and the tape on a handbag zipper is generally 1 1/4 inch wide, so it's wider zipper tape. I also use number 3 dress skirt zippers. So the number 3 zippers generally have a smaller zipper pull, and the tape is a hair less than 1 inch wide. So the tape is not as wide. The teeth are smaller also, and I have a free video on my YouTube channel. I talk about zippers more in depth. If you just go to my YouTube channel and search for types of zippers, you can find that video there. I talk about the different zippers, how to shorten zippers, how to shorten metal zippers, and things like that. I use the fusible foam on my Clydebank and the sides look wrinkled. How do I prevent that result? So if you don't have any more of the fusible foam, just get a sew-in next time. If you bought a whole bolt of the fusible foam, you can always fuse the foam to a piece of Shapeflex interfacing first and then attach it to your fabric, or vice versa, fuse the Shapeflex to your fabric first and then attach it to the foam. Either one of those ways to kind of remove the fusible nature in the fusible foam. Otherwise, just look for the sew-ins next time you're at the store or shopping online. Diane says, feet on the bottom of bags. I really like adding them. How do you feel about them? I personally love them. I generally use smaller feet. I like using 1/2 inch feet, although there's I've seen quite large purse feet. I've even seen people use buttons, sewing buttons on the bottom of their bag in place of the purse feet. They're really easy to install. They're cheap. You can get a lot of them, like 100 for a very low price. In case you missed it, I do have a video on the YouTube channel, how to install purse feet. Again, they're super, super easy. Hope says, do you think that the templates could have the dash line cut out so that we could trace the pattern? Oh, did you mean on the purse tabs? I'm not sure, but go ahead and either leave me a follow-up comment, Danny will look for it, or you can always email me. Pat says, how about SVG files for the tabs? Yes, we are working on some more patterns, SVG files for some other patterns, and then we'll definitely get over to the SVG files for the tabs. However, if you like fiddling with your SVG files in that PDF document that I created with the tabs, I made sure to leave all of the text off the tabs, so it's just the tab artwork. So if you're very familiar with your cutting machine and the SVG files, you'll also be able to easily import those and use those. But we will have them eventually in the SVG files. Jack says, can you make some more patterns using the lace zippers? Yeah, definitely. I saw a lot of people buying lots of lace zippers to make the Windsor pouch. It was a box pouch with a lace zipper, free pattern and video. I definitely plan on making other patterns to use the lace zippers for too, because they're really fun to use. Let's see. Linda says, what zipper do you recommend for the Sloan travel bag top closure? So you have your pick. You can either use a handbag zipper for the Sloan travel bag or the number 3 dress skirt zipper. I've done it with both. They both work just fine. I guess it depends on if you like the larger zipper pull on your handbag zipper. Tracy says, will we ever see Danny again? I actually wrote on my outline today that Danny would be on the show before the intro. And then I asked him, I suppose it was my fault because I asked him like an hour before the show and he said, well, I haven't shaved and I haven't cut my hair. And that's all he said. So I was like, so does that mean you're not going to be on the show? And he said, yeah. So next time I will give him more notice than just an hour. Make sure he can get all beautiful and he'll be on hopefully the next Sunday show. What do you think about that, Danny? Next Social Sunday.
We'll see.
He says we'll see.
That's it.
All right, Danny's calling it on the questions. My giveaway prize this week is, I didn't count it up. I know it's over 10 yards of fabric, but I've made, this is really great canvas fabric directly from my stash. I've made lots of different projects with these. The fabric line is called Geo Pop. It was designed by MEK. I believe it's out of print by now, but it's really great. I love these geometric prints so much. The fabric is really fun to work for. It's great for the exterior of the bag. It's great for linings because it's a little bit thicker of a fabric. You don't have to use any interfacing for your lining. So these are just really fun. And like I said, over 10 yards of fabric. I have another stack over here too. So one lucky winner will win all of these fabrics. I really had to work to jam these in a medium flat rate box. All you have to do to enter my giveaway is to answer this question. What was your first sewing project that you ever made? So just let me know. Maybe it was a pillow. Maybe you were really adventurous, made some clothes for your doll, clothes for yourself. Just let me know. My first project was a drawstring bag. In the 3rd grade, my mom taught me and my friend Amy how to sew, like the basics. So we made 2 projects. We made a drawstring bag out of knit fabric, so it was not a lined bag. And we also made a t-shirt. So same fabric for both projects. It was really fun, but I did not sew again for many years. I'm not sure why. It's certainly a really great stress relieving hobby to have. But let me know. I'll announce the winner of this giveaway when we return. Not sure when the date is. Our next Social Sunday show will be the 3rd Sunday in August. So thank you so much for joining me for Social Sunday. I hope you had a great time. I had an awesome time. I was really looking forward to demonstrating those purse tabs, certainly. The 18th, thank you. 18th we'll be back. August 18th we'll be back for Social Sunday. So I hope you have a great week. Hope it's not too hot where you are. Have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.